Hello. Hello, you beautiful thing. Good morning. Um, so there was a dog. I had to, I had to stroke her a little while. She was, or he was asleep. Good morning. It is time to talk about the second kind of power. We, what I mentioned before, that I do find that in the public domain, public discourse, there isn't much being said about two main kinds of power, and when self-love misunderstood or does not or applied in a culture or a context or in an environment it what is different from one's own roots, um, then there is a great deal of hazard of risk to develop narcissism or over to misunderstood the whole thing because the power turns into chaotic power. Second part of it is the cosmic power. So that's the kind of power that allows us humans to study, research, learn about and understand the cosmos, the universe, in its ordered way. That's why we can, with great deal of reliability, actually measure time by our own means. That does not mean we understand time or know time or can control time, not at all. That means we can measure it. We've got a system to measure it, so we can use it as an anchor to reality. On the other hand, also allows us to make inferences um, with a great degree of no absolute certainty. Of course, there's no 100% certainty, not even in statistics for that matter. 95% of certainty is pretty good for us, and any change that is greater than 5% most of the time, that's that certain n number that shows significance. That means anything that is great has a greater chance, has a greater what's the word, probability to occur in reality in a given time frame, has a potential to change everything significantly, not for nothing. That's the number we use. And I'm sure many of the viewers have heard about normal distribution. That's the normal distribution curve. Anyway, so cosmic power. I mentioned last time what are the features of the power when it is not being understood, unlearned about, misunderstood, misinterpreted, or ignored. And this morning's video on the 12th of December 2023, which appears to be very sunny here in England, London, central London. Actually, I'm on the Pimlico side of the River Thames, not the southern side, but there are some looming clouds, so it may not be much longer. There is an adjacent park just right behind me. I wanted to make this recording from. Of course, this morning again, as soon as I got my equipment out and set up, it takes like 3 minutes. Immediately, there was a man. On this occasion, not with the pavement sweeper car, but that one that blows or sucks in, God knows, the leaves. So another noisy one. Hence, I had to move a little bit. So, this morning's video is about this one. Power is cosmic, ordered enough, yet has enough to allow adapting when it is learnt about, understood correctly, interpreted correctly, and not ignored. Even when power is not being understood in detail, including one's own power, it still needs to be respected. It still needs to be taken into account. And that's why self awareness is crucial and important. It is self awareness comes from the feedback, basically, what one gets from one's environment. However, for us, like Hungarians or Central Europeans who moved to England, or even for the Americans for that matter, because at some point in my career when I was doing all sorts of work, private enterprise we had together with Melinda, and including personal training and health development. That was my thesis for my first degree back home. And we had customers from all over the world, from America, some from Israel even. And Americans often said that, hearing my accent, which was much more Central European at the time, but resembling them to the UK one, they always asked for this help, Americans, to help them to understand the information what they hear in English, which was quite odd to me. I never understood you speak the same language. And although there's a difference, and Oscar Wilde famously said that the Americans and the English are divided by the mutual language, and that's true. Because the meaning, the context, the environmental learning, which is in the subconscious or unconscious, is utterly different with this thing. And therefore, when we even don't know about our own power, which must not ignore it, what it causes on the peripheries, what's happening there. And oftentimes that things that are these forces that are happening not in the plain sight, but actually on the peripheries, the bigger picture, the context, that is the one that determines everything, particularly if it goes unheeded, ignored, or even abused over time. And that's when we pay the high prices. One of the things that come to my mind is the rise of the Nazis in Germany in the 1920s, 30s, when Germany was basically the most enlightened country or community of people in the world. And after losing the First World War, let's say, financially, economically devastated, that means two things. Just because so finances are not everything. Finances are not economics, by the way. Economics are greater than that. On the other hand, how come that in this most enlightened society or community of people, such forces could win power and even create what they did? It's difficult for me to talk about this in English because in England the history of the Second World War is entirely and intentionally and grossly misinterpreted. So it's just so much misinterpreted, it's unbearable. There is a witch hunting and had been for too long, which is not simply true. However, there is something else, and so for any kind of power, any kind of extreme power, any kind of extreme behavior to become prominent, to be part of and spoken about even, the shared reality, there needs to be, it appears to me, an unmet need, at least one. Even that is something else is converted into something else and mislabeled, but that there is an underlying unmet need. And on the other hand, the ignorance of chaotic power, the ignorance of own power that turns into chaotic as opposed to cosmic. And there are examples for this, that the power, when it's recognized and realized, turns into something cosmic, and that's the European Union by and large, particularly in Central Europe and Central and Central Eastern and Central South Central, I would say, Europe. That's particularly true. And whenever I go to that area, it's just so obvious, and it's such a good feeling. Having this functional, multicultural, generally multicultural communities. London has never been multicultural as polycultural. It's a different kettle of fish. Or we can learn a lot from the Scandinavians, but they come from a different place, however much more resembling to the British, so that's why it's useful to use that one. I'm not comparing here cultures or nations to one another. What I'm saying, how it feels, and there is an example of cosmic power. Cosmic power doesn't necessarily have to be visible. Doesn't necessarily have to be on the bright side. It can be on the shadowy side. So again, the dark side, the shadowy side, does not necessarily mean wrong or bad or harmful or evil. No. It's just invisible. That's what it means. I mean, gravity is an invisible force, yet still exists. Everybody knows that. can feel it. So, easy as it is. So that's the message this morning on the 12th of December 2023 from the northern bank of River Thames in central London. We can have a little look around, I think. This is where I am right now. There you go. We shall be continuing then what to do, how to relate to one's own power through continued learning, because that's what lifelong learning means in reality. And that took me to figure out a good 20 years, to be honest. So I wouldn't say I'm particularly intelligent or smart or exceptional. I think the very same thoughts go through most people's head in one way or another. Have a lovely morning.